Hello and welcome back to another video. In this video we are going to talk about user-defined functions for custom transformation in Snowflake. So let's get started. So what are UDFs? So user-defined functions allows you to create custom functions that can be used in different SQL queries. And those UDF functions you can create based on your preferential language. Like right now this is available in 3 languages: SQL, Python and JavaScript. So if you are expert in any language, you can choose based on your expertise. And there are other ways when you have to choose different language over your preferential language. Suppose SQL UDFs, where you do not have one kind of functionality, then you have to go with the Python UDFs or JavaScript based UDFs. So at that time, you can choose the different language based UDF defined functions. So using UDFs, you can customize and extend some functionalities of SQL for specific and complex data operations. So let's look at the benefits of UDFs. So you have to write once and you can use that function at multiple different SQL queries. And as you are writing only one query or one UDF functions and you are using in multiple SQL queries, that means you have to change that SQL functions or UDF functions once, and that will be modified for all the SQL queries. That way you can maintain the consistency. And if you write that UDF functions optimized way, then performance will be also improved for all the queries. And you can always write UDF functions based on your specific business or technical requirements. Those cannot be generic, but based on your specific business or technical requirement. Now let's look at how you can create UDF functions using SQL. So if you see the syntax here, it's very simple syntax. You just need to write create or replace function as similar to tables and give the function name. And always this is a function, so you need arguments, right? So in arguments you can see here right now it is spend. Is basically for orders. So how much the customer is spending, based on that it will decide what is the level of the customer, right? And this customer level, it needs the argument in float, or you can pass also number as well, because SQL supports number. And what you want to return, that you have to put it here, returns string. You can put the number, float, whatever value you are going to return, based on that you have to put it here. Okay, and which language you want to use to write this SQL function, UDF function, right? So language SQL. And this is just an SQL statement which we'll look into the example. So let's look at into the example so you can understand. So as you can see here, this is the query which we ran last time. It has basically first name, last name, department name, salary, average department salary and maximum department salary. So based on salary, now I want to decide. So just for an example, I am taking very straightforward and simple salary level. So when you have more than 25,000 salary, you consider it as a first level. First level, right? Top level. And the second level is greater than 15,000, then it's called the second level. And then the else, less than 15,000 or 15,000 equal, those will be considered as third level. So to write that function, what I'll do here, basically, I have already written the function, so I'll just show you that. So it's very basic, right? Create or replace function, and this is the function name, and I am taking a salary as an argument, which is number, and you can also write a float as well. Okay, and then if you want to return string, then you just put here string. Then which language you want to use this to write this function? SQL, because we are currently taking an example of SQL. Then as you have to put, so this is the script which is the main content for this SQL function. Okay, and this is the syntax $, and here ending with also $. Now this is a very simple statement called case statement, where case when salary greater than 25,000, then first salary greater than 15,000, then second, else third. Okay, and this is the end. You do not have to put semicolon. If you will put the semicolon, it will give you an exception. Let me show you that. If I run this, it will tell us that syntax error line 2 at position 92 unexpected semicolon. But if I remove the semicolon, if I enter this time it will create this function. Now let's use that function. How you can use this function basically? So you can write here get salary level, and inside that you have to pass e.salary, okay, and comma. If I enter this now, you will see the levels are generated for each salary. There is a third, second, right? Now this is how you can create SQL based user defined function, and you can extend the functionality. Okay, so this is just an example. Now let's look at the what other ways we can create UDF. The second way is using Python language. So in this, actually there is a little bit different syntax here. So as you can see, this is very basic, and it's the same actually, create or replace function and the function name. Argument also it's a similar way, there is no difference here. Returns float here, this is again you can put as whatever you want to return here. So actually there is a mistake in this function. You can see here I am returning a string, but I am returning float. That means this, if I copy and paste and run this, it will definitely give me an error. Okay, the language Python, and runtime version is 3.8. you have to put the runtime version because now you want to mention that in which Python version you want to run this function. So basically they have some supported versions, and you have to select from them. And again you have to put handler. Actually it doesn't work like this normally. You just write directly return something like that. You this is not going to work as normal scripting. You have to write a function and you have to mention what is that function to be run as a root level. So handler, main, and as you can see here, you cannot write start with the indentation beforehand. You have to start from the zero, like this level, zero level, and then definition of main and then statement. Okay, so let's look at this in action in our here. So if I go down a little bit, I have already done a Python based function as well. So create or replace function, and I'm just writing the same function with this Python language. That is why I'm putting suffix as _py, so we can understand. Now salary here again, it's a number argument, and if I let me change this to number, and if I write this, if I enter this, it should give me an exception. If don't give me exception, then while execution it will give me an exception. Let me show you that. See, invalid literal for integer. So actually what happens is here that it tries to return this third in first row itself, and when we have returns number, it will try to cast that value as a number, and at that time it is trying to fail. It is failing, right? But suppose instead of third, if I pass 0 1 2, that is basically an integer, and if I consider here float, then it will definitely try to cast it as float, and it will be able to do that. So that way it won't give an exception. So here if you pass string and language, as you see Python runtime version is 3.8, and handler, I have changed the name from main to root here, so you can understand there is no meaning of the name. There is no predefined requirement from the UDF that you have to put this name main, but you can change to anything based on your requirement, right? I can also call it get salary level, something like that, like this, get salary level. Okay, and that will also work. And now if I enter this time, it should create this function, and if I use that function here in this query, it should give me the same result which SQL based function gave, right? Third, you can see, right? Now let's go back to our presentation and go to the script. Now this time this is the third one called UDF using JavaScript language, and here also the same syntax, the same function name, but here you have to keep in mind that number doesn't work for the JavaScript. Let me show you that. Okay, then returns float language JavaScript, it's all same syntax, but here in this, similar to SQL, you do not need function name or something like that. You can directly write the return statement here. Okay, so let's again take a look into the action. Now there is another function which I have written JS based, and if I put it number here, similar to SQL based and Python based, where we were expecting number, here also we are accepting number, and if I write enter this, it will give me an exception. Language JavaScript does not support type this for argument or return type. Even you cannot return this as number. If you want to return number, you always use float. Okay, so I am accepting float here now, and it will try to cast that value into float, and then it will give me. And one more thing you have to keep in mind, that whatever argument you are putting it here, you have to use it here. You can even case sensitive. Okay, so as you can see, I have used capital here, so we have to use capital here as well. Now it's very similar to SQL. There is no extra keywords you have to put, return statement and what is the language, and then the same syntax, start and end. And inside that, if the salary greater than 25,000, then return first. Same logic. Okay, I'm not going to explain again. Now if I create this, it will be able to create the JavaScript based function as well, and I'll try to call it here. This time also it should give me the same result for all this case. So you can see in action that either you use SQL, Python or JavaScript, you can always create user defined function based on your requirements and based on your expertise as well. Okay, so this is how you can use UDFs in Snowflake. So we have already looked at how we can use the UDF function in other SQL queries after creating. So that is done. And there are some best practices you have to follow, like there is almost these are the practices you have to follow in all kind of coding languages. So here also you will always try to write efficient UDF functions so that can not deteriorate performances for other SQL queries where this function is going to be used. Okay, so always try to minimize computational overhead. Documentation will always help what this UDF does, and it will explain the purpose and uses. Testing, you always try to thoroughly test this UDF function, because in SQL, once data are corrupted, correcting them is very tidy task. I mean, very extremely tidy task, and even cost effective also. I mean, it will also cost you much. The maintenance, of course, when you write a UDF function, always keep and review that now and then, and whenever requirement changes a little bit, so you have to update that UDF function as well as per requirement. Suppose after 1 month, suppose there are some new ranges are came in salary, so you have to change that grade first, third or second. The logics must be changed, right? So that way you have to maintain them. So that's it from this video. I hope you have learned about this UDF, and I'll come up with more videos in Snowflake going forward. So if you have liked it, hit the like button and subscribe this channel. Thank you very much. See you soon in the next video.